You're a businesswoman, you're in a campaign. What time do you wake up in the morning?
Early.
What's
getting earlier.
What is it?
So
Tell me.
I have 3 children now, all under the age of 5, and my youngest is 4 months old. So with each child, I think I wake up around 30 minutes earlier. So now I'm at like the 5 o'clock mark, but that's it. there's a line in the sand. But so I wake up at around 5, and I also wake up numerous times beforehand because obviously my 4-month-old is not sleeping from 7 p.m. until that point in time. So I just don't sleep very often anymore, but I try to wake up and get myself fully ready for the day before my kids wake up. So my oldest two, my 5-year-old and my 2.5-year-old, will normally wake up between 6:30 and 7. So I like to shower, exercise on the days that I do that during the week, read the newspapers, really sort of take that time for myself and be fully ready to roll. So when my kids wake up, I can have really focused, dedicated time with them before I drop them off at school or drop them off at the bus and start my day.
So what time do you walk out the door usually?
It depends. It depends on the time of year when school starts or camp starts. But normally around 7:45, 8 o'clock.
And what time do you walk back in the house usually at night?
So I always make it home for, well, not always, but 95% of the time I make it home for dinner. So I like to be home by 6:30. I have dinner with the kids, I bathe them, I read books to them, and I put them to bed. I try to put them to bed between 7:30 and 8, and then I get back to work.
Back to work, what, phone calls, emails?
Phone calls. So basically my time in the office, because I like to be home in the evenings and because I prioritize sort of the tales of the day with my children, both the morning and the evening, I try to make my time in the office incredibly productive, and I don't do things there that I could do remotely. So it's pretty infrequent that I'll sit down and answer emails. I'll return phone calls which need to be returned during business hours. I take meetings. I walk around the office and interact with people. So I really spend my time in the office having more sort of interpersonal moments, and then I spend my time very late at night responding to emails and dealing with logistics. Obviously having 3 kids, that's the stuff that keeps me up at night. All the logistics of managing their lives as opposed to my own. So.
And you have a brand though too, right?
I do.
So when do you work on your brand?
I think about how I balance my work at the Trump Organization and the company I've built, which is really an amazing business that I'm deeply passionate about. So I think about the balance of those two things really based on prioritization and where I need to be in a given moment. So sometimes, when we're finishing up construction of the old post office building, that requires incredible focus and attention. Other times, I'll have moments where I'm more focused on my brand and building that business. So I think it's the same as being a parent. Where you just try to navigate and be where you need to be when you need to be there.
Okay, now let's fold in the campaign. You're working on the I assume that you're part of the campaign as well, right?
Well, I'm a daughter.
Okay,
so
right.
I guess I'm certainly around the campaign. I have no official role within the campaign.
Do you get phone calls from your father?
Well, from my father, of course, yeah.
How many phone calls a day do you usually get from your father?
Quite a lot. So I call him a lot. He'll call me a lot.
6.
We're in the habit of this because we worked together for 10 years plus at the Trump Organization, and we'd speak. I used to be able to just walk into his office multiple times a day, and now he's traveling so much for the campaign and traveling all over the country. So we end up speaking a lot more telephonically, and we spend a lot of time together on the weekends in New Jersey. So we see each other all the time. We're incredibly close.
And no one knows Donald Trump better than his wife Melania and daughter Ivanka. So what's it like to live the Trump life? Well, Ivanka and Melania go on the record to talk about life inside Trump Tower. That's next.
Live from America. Here's what's happening. The battle for Ohio is heating up, with both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump converging on the Buckeye state. The two made competing Labor Day pitches just miles from each other in Cleveland. No Republican has won the White House without winning Ohio, and Trump is trying to overcome some splintering of the state party, which was supportive of Ohio Governor John Kasich during the presidential primary. Tropical storm Hermine lingering in the Atlantic Ocean, bringing strong winds and rough waves along the East Coast. The storm closing down beaches in New York and New Jersey on Labor Day. Visitors were allowed onto the beach, but told to stay out of the water. A coastal flood advisory is in effect until early Tuesday morning. That's a look at news this hour. I'm Kelly Wright. We take you back now to On the Record.
Today, Ivanka Trump is a mother, a business mogul, high-powered executive, and one of her father's closest advisors on the campaign trail. But how did she get there? Here's Ivanka of what it's like to grow up Trump. I'm curious, why do you think your father has 5 good kids? One's a child, but he's got 4 adults. Why does he have 5?
You know, I think about parenting a lot more, being a parent now myself, and I think I appreciate the job that my mother and my father did in raising my siblings and I much more today than I did 10 years ago, for sure, because it takes a lot of work and it's really hard to raise children with a strong moral compass and with passion and determination and compassion and good values. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about how I can instill those same things in my own children. And I don't know what the recipe is. I hope I do a good job with it. But you know, I will say my parents, they really focused on ensuring that we weren't entitled and were grateful every day for the good fortune that we had in our lives. And maybe that's a point of differentiation. I know a lot of children who were born into very privileged circumstances and they don't seem to really appreciate just how lucky and just how fortunate they are. And my parents really instilled that in us very early on, that to whom much is given, much is expected, and we have to wake up every day and be grateful for the life that we have, and try to also work really hard to make life better for those around us.
Who was a disciplinarian growing up, your mother or your father?
They both were in different ways, and they both had different techniques. My mother grew up in communist Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia at the time. She was very strict, for sure. My father would let me get away with a little bit more, but I knew exactly when I'd gone too far. So it was, they were a very good team in this regard, but they worked exactly like that as a team when they were married, and as importantly, when they were not. So they communicated clearly with one another. They were very consistent, annoyingly consistent, because we certainly tried to take advantage of dividing and conquering with our parents. But you know, they were great parents. And you know, I think about one of the things that was very true my whole life with my father is that, you know, he was working very hard. When I was younger, he was in the early stages of building his business and building his company, and it meant long hours, and it meant that he wasn't home for dinner every single night, but he was always available to us. And that's something I think about a lot with my own children. You know, whenever that phone rings, you know, if I'm not there at pickup, I'm picking up my phone regardless of the meeting I'm in to hear my kids tell me a story about their day or a class that they just completed. And my father did that for me. And at the time, I didn't realize how special that was, but now looking back, I used to walk into literally a janitor closet where a payphone was at the school I went to here in New York, the Chapin School. And there was a payphone, and I used to call collect to his office. And he would pick up that phone, he would put me on speakerphone, he would tell everyone in the room, who would often be major titans of business, heads of state, whoever. he would tell them that his daughter was on the line and she was calling from school, and he'd ask me about a project or if I was having a good day. Oftentimes I'd have girlfriends with me, and he'd ask them how I was doing in a class he knew I wasn't doing so well in. So it was, but that accessibility and that availability led me to know that regardless of circumstance, I was his priority, and my siblings were his priority. And I think that's an important message. I think all children should know that about their parents.
Well, she's living the Trump life, and now Melania Trump takes you inside the Trump penthouse in Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue. Before he decided he's going to run for president, what was your day like? I mean, what time did Donald get home from work?
Normally he goes in the office in the morning, wake up very early, goes to the office, and he's back by 7 o'clock. So we try to have a dinner together.
He doesn't drink, right?
Doesn't drink.
And your son is how old?
He will be 10 soon.
Who's the disciplinarian, you or Donald?
I am. I'm raising my child. I'm here with him all the time. I'm raising him. I'm teaching him values and morals and preparing him for adult life, because one day he will have wings, as we say, and he will fly on his own, and I just want to raise him the right way. I don't want nanny raising him, so he needs a parent at home.
And here's some pictures, actually.
Yes, yes, he was 3 weeks old, and and then here it was like almost a year, and we have a few pictures.
Are you tough?
Yes, I'm tough.
You're a tough parent?
I'm fair. I'm fair. I let him be who he is. He's my child, but I don't want to change him. He is who he is, and I try to give him traditions and values and morals into his life, but I don't try to change him. I like that he has his own yes and his own no.
There's a perception by some that Donald's got a rough reputation with women. He's got rough language with women. I don't know how else to say it. What do you want to say to that?
I say he treats equally everybody. You're a woman, you're a man. He treats everybody equally, and he will tell you what it's on his heart. So, and he will tell you what he thinks. He doesn't hold back, and he's real. He's a real person.
Is he funny?
He's funny. Has a great sense of humor. He likes to have a good time, and he loves to get together with family and friends.
What annoys him? What does he get mad about? What does he like?
Stupidity.
Really? Like
yes,
what?
And I do too. Just if something is not done the right way, and especially if you tell somebody and they don't do it, and he likes to be the right things done, and he just doesn't like it. He doesn't like somebody who is not competent to do it.
Who's more likely to apologize first in a fight, you or Donald?
We don't have fights.
You've never had a fight?
No.
Never have an argument?
We don't have fights.
I know, but you don't disagree on things?
We disagree, but that's okay. That's very good in the relationship. I'm my own, with my own brains, he's with his own brains. So.
But it never gets heated?
No.
You've never had an argument?
No. I tell him my way, and he accepts that, and I tell him, what I think, and